Hello, this is Dell with Healing Frequencies Music, and this video is to go over my top 10 list. These are the top 10 questions that I received from customers, and I made a blog post about them, and I'll put the link to that blog post below. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly do a video version of it. I understand that people have a variety of learning styles. Some people just want to read it, and other people would like to see and hear it. So I'm just going to pull up the blog post and I'm going to talk about it. I'm looking at my screen, but I'm not going to share my screen because you can easily find it. So I'm going to start with the top number one. What's the difference between concert pitch and temperament? Temperament is, it's kind of like this ruler. I just got to check to make sure I can see myself. Okay, this ruler, as you can see, has 12 inches on it. The distance from every inch is exactly the same. So from 1 inch all the way to 12 inches, there are equal parts between every one. That is like equal temperament. The distance from note number 1 to note number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of the distance between each note is exactly the same. So that's what they mean by equal temperament. If you adjust the temperament, let's say you move the force, the force a little bit higher and the thirds a little lower, and maybe you raise the seventh, that is adjusting the temperament. So you have to choose when you're recording music or doing whatever, you have to choose what temperament you want to use. We function with equal temperament at this point. The only way that you can adjust that is if you were playing on a string instrument or a wind instrument. Keyboards and guitars, they can only play in equal temperament because of the way the instruments are made. So adjusting temperament is adjusting the distance between each of the notes. Concert pitch would be like taking note number 6 and making sure all of the other notes on the instrument are tuned to note number 6, because automatically when you tune number 6, all the other notes come into tune in with whatever temperament you've chosen. So concert pitch and temperament are different. Concert pitch adjusts the overall system, whereas temperament will adjust the distance between each of the notes in your scale. So there is question number one. Question number two is A440 harmful? I don't think it's harmful, and I can say that because intent is the most important thing. And I believe that all frequencies were created equal. Some are definitely more helpful than others, but it's going to differ depending on your being. What does your spirit want? What does your soul want? What does your body need at this time? You might not be able to work with 440 just because there's something within your system that needs 442 today, or tomorrow it might need something in 435. You know, I've played in A440 my entire life because I'm a classical musician, and I loved it. You know, I mean, equal temperament is not in tune, so as a clarinet player I had to adjust and do things to make it play correctly, but I do not believe that A440 is harmful, and I describe that a little bit more in the blog by talking about your thoughts and your tense and your words. If you believe it's going to be harmful, then guess what? It probably will not help you. So, all right. So what's the difference between A432 and A444? That is question number 3. And I show in the blog post how many colors of green are there. I mean, my lovely ruler is a color of green, and it's not the same two that I show in question number 3. There's a dark green, there's lime green, there's avocado green, which was very popular in the 70s. You know, there's so many different colors of green, but when you look at it, you know, oh, that is a form of green. When you're looking at concert pitches, so like A432, A432 is just a lower frequency of the note A than A444. 444 is a higher number, so that pitch is going to be higher than the A that's at 432. That's all that means, is one pitch is literally higher in pitch than the other one. So if you are tuning to A444, all of the other notes within your scale need to line up with that particular concert pitch. Okay, question number 4. Are there specific purposes for A432 and A444? I think a lot of that is subjective and depends on what you yourself feel you need. This is where we get really stuck in, if someone else says da 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 da, or A and B and C, this is blah 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 blah, and that's their experience with it. But is their experience yours? I will say that things in the A432 concert pitch, generally in the just intonation, which is the temperament, just intonation is a temperament, it'd be like taking the ruler, and the third is going to be a little bit closer together than 1 and 2, for example. And I believe in just intonation, the 6th and the 7th are also slightly lower. Again, this ruler is like equal temperament. It's the exact distance between each measurement. So when you're adjusting the temperament, which just intonation does, it's the most natural version of tuning, then it's just going to slightly change, make a pitch higher or lower, but then you use your concert pitch to make all of the pitches in every octave work with that. So A432 in the just intonation tuning, it's close to Pythagorean. That does seem to fit within frequencies within the universe. The A444, I'm finding that happens to match the numbers in the New Jerusalem that are described in the Bible. But again, we're going back to intent. What is your specific purpose for A432 or A444? So make it personal for you. Number 5. Did Hitler use frequencies for bad purposes? Well, I say here, Hitler used megaphones, or he had public announcement, not microphone, speakers all over the place, and he would blast Nazi propaganda over the radio, over public speakers. He was teaching Nazi propaganda in the schools to get the kids to believe whatever it is that he was saying, and that was all that they were allowed to listen to, was one specific thought or idea. And really so he was using the frequency of propaganda, if anything, to brainwash the German population into believing a certain way. And that's what happens when you have a country that makes decisions for you and says, well, you have to do this and this and this and this. This is required of you, and they go down a list. They give you lots of propaganda. These are the things that you read. Certain things are suppressed and you're not allowed to see those things, which all of that happened in Nazi Germany. So he used the frequency of propaganda for nefarious purposes, and to put fear in the people so that they would trust him. So those are the frequencies that he used. Okay, let's go on to number 6. And people always ask me, what do I personally feel about the ancient solfeggio frequencies? If they work, great. If they don't use them. The 528 does seem to have something to do with healing the physical body. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but that particular one does seem to have the same type of effect on everybody. And as you know, I created a couple of albums using that frequency. Plus I have a flower essence, a music essence Soul by Freedom Flowers that that I've created that goes along with that album, that anybody who is interested in that particular frequency and bringing physical healing into their system, there's a frequency for you. Now, any frequency can be used for good or for bad, depending on the intent of the person. It's just like this ruler. I can take this ruler and I can use it for what it was intended for. I can measure things, or I can take and bonk myself over the head until I hurt, or bonk someone else over the head. I'm using it for two different purposes. One is healthy, one is not. So if you're using frequencies, if the solfeggial frequencies, if you like them and you find that they're helpful for you, then by all means use them. The history that is purported behind them, that information is not musically accurate. So just throw that stuff out the window. Use the frequencies as they work for you. Number 7, what is EMDR music? I can hardly ever say this word. It means eye movement desensitization reprocessing, or reprocession. Anyway, what it is bilateral music that gently pans from one side to the next. And you just, so that if you're sitting in the middle of it, you know, you have a stereo system, you're sitting here, one speaker's there, another speaker's there, you can hear it panning. Or if you're wearing headsets, you can feel it panning. What EMDR is meant to do is to mimic rapid eye movement while sleeping, which is where we process trauma. So the EMDR music that I've created, it's for whatever you decide. If you want to work through some traumas, great. That's one way of doing it. And there's some explanations on the website on how to do that. One of the things that I have found out is it seems to be working pretty well with people who are on the autistic spectrum. I'm not really sure why, but I don't question those things. I have a therapist who uses my music, and she uses it with her autistic students and has found it very helpful. And I give instructions on how to use that on the website as well. Okay, we are now on to number 8. There is number 8. How do I know what music is harmful? Again, this is going to be completely subjective. We can listen to the same music, and I'm going to go, ugh, and you're going to go, oh, that just floats my boat. For example, I had someone here the other day, and I was playing some Mozart, and he was like, oh, I just don't like Mozart. Oh, there's just something about Mozart that's, oh, I can't even listen to it. Stop. And then so I played some Debussy, and he's like, oh, now there we go. Whereas I'm like, you don't like Mozart? No, I hate it. And I was laughing. But for me, I adore Mozart. Excuse me. You know, I'd have to have a little bit of cough every couple minutes. Anyway, so if you're listening to something and it doesn't feel right to you, then I wouldn't say it's harmful. I'd say set it on a shelf. Figure out if it's something within you that needs an adjustment, or if you just don't want that frequency that particular day. Now, if there's music with words, all you got to do is read the words. Listen to the words, and you're going to tell if they resonate with you or not. I wouldn't be listening to things that talk about killing, or, you know, a lot of these songs talk about marriage and divorce and your lovers and all of these things, and I'm just like, I'll cough for that one. Rolling my eyes, I'm like, why would I want to listen to music like that when I can listen to music that's got words that build me up and talk about joy and peace and love and you know, resonate with the things that I'm after. So the biggest answer to the question is, how do I know if music is harmful? Has to do with how does it feel to you. And I give a short description of that in there. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, number 9, there's 4, 9. How are musical intervals different than musical notes? Musical intervals are the distance between two notes. We'll use our ruler again. So since there's 8 notes in a scale, we'll use the first 8 inches on this ruler. So from note number 1 to note number 3, that is an interval of 1 to 3. That is a third. Now if I go from 1 to 5, that is an interval of a fifth. So for example, 1 to 3 is an interval of a third. If I put C as 1, E is 3, that's a major third. But if I go down to E flat, which would be halfway between, that would be a minor third. Now if I go from 1 to, I got to find it here, 1 to 5, that is, if I'm in the key of C, that's a C and that's a G, that's a perfect fifth. Now if I lower that fifth down a half step, then I get a diminished fifth, which is a tritone. So an interval is really the distance between two notes. And musical note is an individual note. So we can say 1 is C, 2 is D, 3 is E, 4 is F, if we're comparing with this ruler. So each inch in this case is its own individual inch, just like a musical note is its own individual note. An interval is the distance from one to another note. So that's really the only how you describe those. And the last one, 10. Are certain instruments better than others for healing? No. And I think I put that in bold and italics there. It's like everything else. Listen with your heart. Listen with your spirit. Listen with your soul. What does your being, spirit, soul, and body, want at that time? There might be an instrument that just grates on your nerves. That may not, it's not because the instrument is bad. It's that your being doesn't want that instrument right now. But who knows? You might like that instrument in 6 months. There are people who've come here for crystal bowl sound baths, and there's certain bowls that just drive them berserk. And a couple people just can't even stand hearing the crystal bowls. And then amazingly, there was one person who came back several months later, and all of a sudden they could handle the crystal bowls. And it has everything to do with your personal makeup, what works for you. So anyway, check over the blog post. Within the blog, I give links to other places on the website. Again, I will put the link below here so that you can easily just grab and read. And feel free, if you know of people who are asking the same questions, send them a copy of this video, send them the link to the blog post, and invite them to sign up for the frequency mini course, which is you sign up for the newsletter, and I only do advertising and do everything through the newsletter or through this YouTube channel. At this time, I don't have any other social media. So if you want to find out what's going on about all things frequency, sign up for the newsletter. You'll get all kinds of goodness and some freebies along the way. And that's how you find out about any specials that I have. So feel free, share this with anyone you think it would be helpful for, especially if you have heard these questions, someone has asked you those questions, hopefully between the blog post and my description here, then you have some answers. So until next time, we'll see you later and have a bodacious week.